I had a customer reach out to me and says, Michael, I got this drum here. It's an amazing drum. It's built perfect quality, but I just can't get this 13-inch rack tom to sound right. It has a little dead sound. So I told him to send it to me, and we'll look at it and see what we can come up with. And man, the transformation of this thing right here is amazing. So if you want to hang out and listen, some of the tips and techniques, some tricks on how to make maybe your 13-inch drum sound good, hang out to the end of this video. We got some really cool things going. It's very seldom I get to work on somebody else's drum that I did not build. But I'm very excited because here lately we've been taking on some new work. I've been doing some repair work and trying out some different things. And so ultimately, tone is king here. No matter how pretty these drums are, if it doesn't sound good, well, then you decide. So hang out with me. We're going to go through step by step and see what's going on with this drum. First, we're going to check it and see if it's straight. See if it's round, perfectly round. Sometimes drums can get warped or twisted. In my personal opinion, this one is phenomenal. It was built great quality. Everything was amazing. No glue joint separation. The only issue is just a tidbit oversized. So here's what you're going to expect in this video here. We're going to go through the whole process from flatten all the way up to hearing the sound file at the end of this video here, and some of the tips and techniques and troubles along the way. Hang out with me, and until the end of this video, I got some really cool news ahead. So in my experience, just by taking the time to flatten out your shells, make them perfectly flat, and as flat as you can get them. I mean, you may not have this perfect flat stone at your place, but you may have a granite countertop, or you may have a flat piece of MDF, or just something flat where you can set it on. And for years, I've used the flatness of the table saw. I mean, I'm noticing right here that both sides, when I went to taking each side to perfection, like with as far as I can get with my router, I was left with one side being a little bit flatter than the other side. Sanded with low spots and high spots, that alone will make your drums sound fantastic. Probably just like when you first got them. Because you think about it, over the years, you know, playing drums and letting people play on your drums or whatever, you know, people hit the drum edges and they flatten them out, so you're left with a lot of dips and all that kind of stuff. So my theory is what we're going to do here is we're going to ditch the radius. This has an outside radius, and we're going to go with a straight 45 to try to get it off that drum head a little bit more, giving it a little bit more sustain, trying to maybe kind of get rid of some of that decay, get rid of some of the decay that it has, because it decays real fast. It's a real flat, doom, but it doesn't ring out. He wants it to ring out. Now, this does have it on a suspension mount. I mean, shout out to Nobu and Cooley. Them guys have been doing it for a very, very long time, and they had developed their own suspension mount. And I thought it was pretty cool that this kit is actually has that on it. He really because it really just pinpoints 4 spots is what it's touching. And so now I felt like when you put a snare stand on it, it definitely kind of dries it up some more. So having less spots touching it, it's going to vibrate the most. It's pretty simple. Step 1 of this adventure is we're going to tape it off first. I like to typically do the outside of the edges first, but everybody kind of has their own kind of style, and I just developed this. I mean, I've always done it this way, and it seemed to get the best, because if I can sharpen the edge and bring the inside completely to that point of the outside, I can get it very, very sharp. And the goal is not to get it to bust out, because I got this edge perfectly fast, because you can bust that out and then you got to start all over again, and it means you got to go back to the flattening table. You don't want to bust it out. So I'm really kind of making sure here that the tops are flat. The last thing I want to do is this thing to bust out, but I'm going to sharpen the outside edge first. I think this is the most important. But sometimes you can be splitting corners here, splitting hairs. You have to go because you may have to bring it back to the stone again after you've surfaced to the edge. Because when you mill something with a router, yes, you're cutting off a lot at one time, but there's a chance that you can bust it out, which means when you bust it out, you go to that flat edge. and it does take a lot of work, and you may have to bring it back to the stone again. So I feel like, even in life, you're always taking something back from the edge, and then you get the sharpening. If you don't have some sort of a stone to be sharpened, see what I did right there? I just bumped the shell. There's a small little dip now. I got to sand back out. There's always have to be some sort of surface that has to be a standard, which is in this case a stone is. And each time you run something very sharp across the top, especially stave, like I feel like 'cause you're actually cutting against the straws of the wood instead of it's going vertical instead of lengthwise. So it does affect how easy it is to cut things. Like it is easier to cut edges, like in ply drums, it's really easy to cut edges going horizontal than it is vertical. But at the same time, sometimes you can have issues with, and I just learned this from experience, that if a drum is oversized, sometimes if it touches the drum side head, it can make the drum deaden out real fast too, because it puts another level of restriction on it. And I like tube lugs too, because tube lugs can have a little bit more or less um, resonation, because there's less contact to the shell, letting it vibrate more. And anything you do to these drums, I'm telling you, it does affect things. The more lacquer it's sprayed, the inside, the out, what kind of hardware, what kind of mounting system, and even just turning your floor toms around the other way can help it as far as the vibration goes and make the notes either be longer or shorter. Right here, I'm using a traditional 45 chamfer bit. I've used these for years building tabletops, and these are cut on a precise 45-degree angle. Now I am cutting on the climb right here, which means I'm going in the opposite direction, which means you have to make sure that these bits are tightened down very, very good. And if you aren't careful, you always want to cut stave drums with the climb, on the climb like that, especially now you can go with a traditional pull around method too, but it's very easy for it to bust out. Real easy for it to bust out, and you got to be very careful, especially with your tape. Now, the tighter your tape is, the better your cut's going to be. Now, just know this is a tedious process, and this is a lot of back and forth. But to get perfection done, this is what is needed to be.
I like turning it on your slab because you can tell exactly. It's right there. See it? On your spot.
See how far she'll go. See how far she'll go.
Now, this is the only downside about this. As long as the flatter I make that, the more work it's going to show for me later with the file, because now I'm going to have to take it off by hand, where the router was taking all of it off. Now I'm going to have to go in there and manually remove it. So the more I do this, the more material that's going to have to come off this
Really good
drum.
flat spot there.
All right, we're going back to the router table again. Now, this could be a very tedious back and forth kind of action, but this is what takes place, and I am cutting it on the climb here because I took it off just a little bit, and it's important to keep your router set as you go back and forth, because then when you bring it back to the table, you don't have to keep making adjustments. But take it in mind that each time you flatten it down and you reroute, you risk a chance of busting it out and having to go back to it again. Even with a brand new blade, I've like and been very extremely careful. It's easy to bust out through it. Just want to apologize in advance. I'm definitely not a cameraman, and sometimes you gotta just follow up and follow the inspiration when it comes. And I did have to go back to the router table about 3 more times on this one here, working on it because I had a problem with it just wanting to bust. I was trying to get it too sharp. I felt like so I did decide to go take it to the file. Then after that, we're gonna just remove the blue tape and put some really nice wax around that coats it really nice, and put her back together and see how she sounds and hope for the best. I kind of started it a little on the high side. I'm gonna lower it down some. I know it's weird, but it seems like I always have to hit my snare before I hit my tom. I'm not really liking the way this floor tom's sounding. Um, I need to make some minor adjustments here. So I wasn't able to pick up exactly like I was hearing in the studio. There's a little frequencies. I had a little bit more sustain, I felt like, in the studio than what the mics was getting. But I thought overall it really turned out really good. And just say thank you so much, guys, for hanging around to the end of this video, guys. And thank you so much for helping out my good friend Alan that has fell on some hard times. And he's got hurt, and people that we're doing a giveaway, and everybody that contributes to him. It's more about it on our Facebook page. But he's a super cool guy, man. And he's a guitar player, sound guy. He got messed up. Just want to say thank you so much, man, for everybody that's helped out with that. And also, I'm super excited about the drum building experiences that we're doing. And what resonates with you today, I hope, is that love is very high on your scale, to love one another, to love people. But first, you got to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to love nobody else. And here's the thing, too, you've got to first start with yourself, taking time with yourself, go within, meditate. These things we're going to be able to point you to the wrong path. We get so busy doing everything else. I mean, I'm grateful that you've watched this video. I surely am. But here's the thing here. Get off Facebook, get out of YouTube, start spending some time with yourself for meditation. I'm doing it. I'm not doing the videos like I used to. I've cut back a lot of things here because there's a lot of peace. You have to be tuned in to be able to know what to do. And if you're not tuned in, you're just running around the circle. You're just running around like the children of Israel did, just running around, doing the same thing over and over. You know, that's what they call insanity, is to keep doing the same thing and expect new results for this new year. 2025, I hope, brings you much peace, much joy, much love. But just start loving people, man. Start loving. If you don't love people, start asking yourself why. Start looking at. I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna boil down to going within and start loving yourself. You're gonna start having a different appreciation for people. Also, thank you guys so much for everybody that's donated to Alan's recovery. Also, want to say thank you guys to all our Patreons over there. I love you so much. Thank you for all your support and all that you do. Till next time, peace.